Good call.
There we go. So now you should be able to take over. Okay, and I'll just, so I've started the recording. All right. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Corey Nicoletti, and I'll be moderating the session, Online 7-Week Courses Built in 18 Weeks. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping details. This session is being recorded. You'll receive an email announcement once the recordings are available. If you have any questions during the session, please type them into the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. And the presenter for this session is Dave Eveland. Dave works as an instructional designer and technologist for the Department of Online Education at Johnson University, which has been recognized as one of the best online Christian colleges. You can see more at christianuniversitiesonline.org, and was ranked 3rd for online colleges in Tennessee, according to bestschools.com in 2015. With a background in information technology and a master's degree in education, Dave works directly with faculty and course designers to build out top-notch online and hybrid courses. So Dave, if you're ready to get started.
Sure, great. So I'm really glad to welcome everyone to the session, and I hope that I'm able to come away with something from the session, and hopefully that you are as well. Like we said before, if you have questions, please make sure you put them in the chat window. I love questions. Questions is a great way to learn. And so if you have questions, please definitely put those in the chat window, and we'll try and handle those toward the end of the session. Like Corey said, I've been working for Johnson University for quite a number of years, and this session's on sort of building 7-week online courses in 18 weeks. So I'm just kind of curious before we get super started, and you can kind of think about these and maybe kind of gather some of your answers, and maybe we can get them toward the end. But I'm kind of curious to know, how long does it take for you or your institution to build fully online courses at your institution? And it's just something to kind of get your thinking going. I got 2 other questions too, and you don't have to put these in the chat window right now, but you can maybe think about them for later. Another question I sort of have is the development that you all do, or that you do in terms of your online courses, is it done as part of a team, or is it done by exclusively individuals? This is definitely something we have tried to struggle with and tried to work through over the development of our online courses and programs. I'm just kind of curious to see how and know how other folks and other institutions do it. And then the last question I sort of have in this regard is, what's the biggest problem with the development process that you use? And this is not to say that there's any problems, but if there was one little wrinkle or one little thing you definitely wish you could sort of iron out, what would that be in terms of your process? And maybe it is that you're still in the process of identifying a process, or maybe you have a process you've done already and you're trying to sort of make it more efficient. And so these are just sort of questions that I've come to the table with. So let me give you a little bit of background about Johnson University. So we're located in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we like to think we have 3 campuses. We have a campus in the state of Tennessee, and in Florida, which we recently merged with Florida Christian College in 2013. And then we also like to think that we have an online campus. And while that we don't have a physical presence to represent the online campus, we like to think that we have an online entity and a presence. So other things that have to do with Johnson University, specifically, we offer several different degrees. We're not a large school, I don't think. We have no more than really 1,200 to maybe 1,300 students on a good day, I guess you could say. But we offer several different degrees and several different concentrations. We're accredited and have been for a long time. And when we started looking at and here's this thing that I talked about before. We came across this earlier this year, that we were recognized by bestcolleges.com, which is probably not the most highest recognition that you can get, but that we had a pretty decent online program. So other things that have to do with who we are is the way that we come about and knowing what our Sakai instance is, and this is one of the reasons why we participate in this virtual conference. We're a part of a consortium called LAMP Schools, and so we don't have our own instance of Sakai. We actually group together with a bunch of other institutions and small organizations to sort of leverage the cost sharing of how we do our Sakai instance. And these are all the other representative institutions and entities that are in our instance. So we come from a wide breadth of working together with a lot of other folks, which is one of the things we love about Sakai and love about open source. So let me talk a little bit about our course development timeline. The course development timeline that we built and put together over a process of, I would say, at least at least 2 years, maybe to 18 months, was this idea that we would build out courses in a span of 18 weeks. When we first started coming together and trying to think about how we would actually develop courses, there were a lot of different theories, a lot of different research that's been out there, and in many cases, a lot of our course faculty just simply said, give us a course, Sakai site, and we'll just throw stuff onto the course. And we basically said, that's a nice idea, but I'm not exactly sure that's how we want to build out our courses, especially if this is meant to be something that's really, really hallmark for what we're doing at Johnson University. So we came up with this 18-week development timeline, and initially when we proposed it to the provost said 18 weeks is too much time. He said you can surely do this. You can surely do 18 weeks in. You can surely do a course in 10 weeks rather than 18 weeks. And the more and more we started thinking about it, it just was so difficult to try and actually do just 10 weeks.
Hey, Dave,
and part of this is because of the reason why. Yeah, I can go ahead and stop.
Sorry, it seems that your screen's not being shared. So we're getting some, okay, so some people aren't seeing it, some people are. So Christy says she can see your slides. Other people are saying that they're seeing the Sakai logo and not your slides. So I do have multiple people saying that they're not seeing your slides.
Okay.
So.
Let me try and see if I can reshare them.
Okay, and now I do see the Sakai logo, and now I see your slides again. Did that resolve it for anybody? Okay, and the feedback is okay now. Great. Sorry for the pause, Steve. I do apologize. Looks like we're good now.
No, I'm really glad you paused me. Thank you, Corey. So the development timeline here, you can see, hopefully most of you can see it now. The development timeline we broke into essentially what we call 4 phases. There's this development course phase where we develop the course goals and the course structure, which we think takes about 2 weeks. And then because our courses, because all of our online courses are 7 weeks from start to finish, that means we try to go through and give each of our course developers roughly a span of 2 weeks of time for every week or for every week's worth of a course. So that basically gave us 14 weeks. In many cases, our course developers don't need 2 weeks of time for every week that they need to develop, but we wanted to make sure we build in that much time. And then we have essentially what we kind of call a single week to develop the course online in Sakai. As it turned out, that ends up being less time than is really needed. And then we have a single course or single week at the very end where we try and finalize the course and make sure the course is prepped and ready for launch. So this sort of idea about how this works within our institution, and this is a little bit of background. So I work as an instructional designer for the Department of Online Education, and the university has several schools, or several colleges, I guess you could say in a sense. And the Department of Online Education doesn't work exclusively for any one of those schools. We support the efforts and effort of anyone in all of those schools. And so what we do then is we come alongside any one of those schools to make sure that as they have new programs or they have new courses, most specifically courses, that they want to launch or create, that we come alongside them and help them understand how to best create and develop those courses for online. Every single one of the courses, or every single one of the schools, their dean or their program directors are responsible for finding and looking for an instructional designer to develop the course, or a developer to develop the course, and then we help that person, a lot of times the content specialist, develop the course inside of Sakai. Now we have a couple things that we do that we've tried to create as a part of this process to get them on this sort of 18-week track. And one of them things that we've developed is something that's called a course developer guide. And I have to give a whole lot of credit to our provost, our assistant provost for online education, because he came up with this. But it's basically a course site inside of Sakai that we enroll all of our new course developers in, and most of our faculty are in it as well. And they have access to this, and it provides a good place for them to get good best practices about how to develop courses, what we recommend and what we suggest, and even what we require as far as building out a course that's going to be branded behind Johnson University's name. And we also have something that's called a Course Development Worksheet and Alignment Matrix. We call this the CD-WAM. And essentially what this does is it provides a framework for building out the course, the objectives, the activities, all the different things that an instructor would expect that a student would need to accomplish and do in order to successfully complete the course. And so we have them go through these, this course development guide, and we provide them with this CD-WAM with this idea that they're going to build out and get a good idea for how to construct the course before they ever get into Sakai. And in fact, that's one of the things we basically kind of sort of pride ourselves in, and it may be a little bit too overbearing and controlling. But we don't allow them to get into a shell or a course site shell to actually begin developing content until they've actually gone through at least the first part of that course development guide and that CD-WAM. A lot of them will come to us and say, well, can I just have access to my course shell? And honestly, we tell them, not yet, not until you've actually gotten some good work done on that CD-WAM, that course development worksheet and alignment matrix. So this is kind of a little look into what our CD-WAM kind of requires. It's basically meant to provide that framework around developing courses. We basically go through and say, look, this is how to create good course objectives, and we even go so far as to organize all of our courses with units, learning units. Now, I know that's not always accepted in every place, but that's how we do it here. And in many cases, those learning units are chunked right up into 7 equal segments, so they go right along with the 7 weeks. That's not always the case, though, and we can work with that. But each of the courses has to have this, and this is actually a really great piece of work, because when the course is actually done and we go to accrediting bodies, every single one of our courses includes, or at least we try to make sure, every single one of these courses includes that course development worksheet and alignment matrix. So it really helps to organize the course and help the instructor to focus on what they want the students to learn outside of what Sakai can necessarily provide. So after our faculty have gone through and actually developed their first set of things in the CD-WAM, and they've had good exposure to the course development guide, we actually go and work alongside with them to build out the first unit. All of our courses have a pretty standard sort of consistency in terms of their look and feel, but there is some flexibility for what they can do. But we basically hand them, we give them access to their course shell that has a template in it that we've built out inside of Sakai's lessons feature. And then we sort of try to help them understand how to translate. And in fact, we do a lot of that translation for them so they can actually see, okay, so this is what the template looks like. This is the content that you have from your CD-WAM. And so we want you to basically try and translate that information into the course. So here you can see I'm just going to flip back to what the template looks like and then back forward into a course to where you can see where that content sort of translates to. Now, a little bit more in terms of looking at this. This is the CD-WAM that goes along with a course that we actually have that's about the theology of the Trinity. And so you can see, it says something about my, hang on a second. I'm going to unshare my screen and then share it again because it says it's not, oh, is it, can you all see it now?
I believe so. I don't think anyone else is having any other issues. We haven't had any other feedback, so I think we're good. Everyone says yes.
Great. So this is this is a copy or just a screenshot of the first page of that CD-WAM. So you can see that it goes through, and we tell them they've got to come up with a learning unit description. So you can see that in this learning unit, and that information that they're filling out in the CD-WAM is really meant to be sort of a formalization of what they're going to throw into the actual units in the course. I know there's a lot of times when in Sakai especially, it's very easy to just go through and throw a bunch of information into a course. But then when students get to the course, especially if they're first-time online students, they don't always super understand where they're supposed to start and what they're supposed to do. So we take this information from the CD-WAM, and we essentially take that content and directly throw it into the course itself. And a lot of times, our course instructors and our developers see this as very, it makes a lot of sense to them. In some cases, it's very simple cut and paste. But that definitely gives them some ownership over developing the course, especially as it goes forward. We have the learning unit description, the title, and the learning unit objectives that all show up right there inside the course. And so that's also very beneficial from an accreditation standpoint. Once we've actually gotten to the place where that first unit is really well built out and the course developer feels like it works really well and it accomplishes the objectives of that particular unit, then we basically make use of that add more pages function in the lessons area, to go through and replicate that particular unit and make as many units as the instructor says they've needed in terms of their course build. So you can see the same course. We've gone through and created individual other units. There's 7 units in this particular course. And like I said before, we try and facilitate and assist our course developers with this thing that's called the Course Development Guide, which provides tutorial videos. There's help text. There's also access to a 24/7 help desk, which is specific to something that we offer. It doesn't exactly provide pedagogy assistance, and it doesn't provide best practice assistance, the 24/7 help desk, but it does provide technical support help, which a lot of our course developers and our faculty really, really like. So throughout the course development process, we also have, they have access to Instructional Designer with myself, and we have another Instructional Designer on staff. Our provost has a great instructional design background. We also try and schedule periodic check-ins so that we check in with how they're doing. Our essential thing is once we've gotten that first unit built out, that we try and basically set the course developer free and have them continue to develop the rest of the content in the rest of the units. And we check in with them and make sure if there's things they haven't done well, or if there's some things that need some refinement or they don't understand, that we help and walk alongside them with that. The last thing we somewhat do is the course has to be reviewed by the dean or program director of the school that's offering it to make sure it meets their qualifications and standards. And then we launch the course and go through that process of launching the course. So this is our overall course development timeline, it's kind of worked out somewhat. It's kind of not worked out in some cases, but we're really trying to do a good job of sticking to it. What I'd kind of like to hear from some folks is questions or comments about how you do your course development in your institution and in your place. And then I also have some screenshots that I was going to share with you about some of the way that our courses look.
So we had a few comments. Someone did say good approach to get consistency. Someone else said please make the course development guide into an OER to be shared.
We'd love to do that. I have to ask our provost if we can do that or not.
So we had a few questions come in. One question came in actually when you asked in the beginning about having a team or how long it takes to develop. Someone said they wish they had a team. This was Linda. She said, I wish we had a team. We have 2 instructional designers that support faculty in creating online courses, but that's in addition to supporting all instructional technologies at the university. We had another comment come in that was, it's done as part of, my names are getting cut off. What do I have here? Sorry about that. That it's done as part of a team with lecturers. The biggest challenge is collaboration on online course development. Does whether or not lecturers or educators have taught online impact how long it takes?
That's a great comment, and I love the other one too. Yes, and I think it does. Whether or not they've taught online really does have impact. One of the things we've recently implemented is something that's called an online instructor certification course. And so essentially what we've done is we've sort of noticed that there are some folks that come to the online teaching aspect and they're good about it. They may not have even taught with Sakai as a platform, but they've taught with other platforms, and so they have some familiarity with teaching online. Teaching online is not just simply, I mean, I think a lot of us know this if we have exposure to Sakai or some other aspect, but we tried to build out that online certification course so that they essentially get an experience to go through an online course in a sense. It's very self-paced, but there is definite interaction and engagement with an instructor, so that they get the experience of what it's like to actually be a student in taking an online course. And more so, we built that out inside of our own instance of Sakai so that they actually gain that experience and exposure to Sakai. So yeah, I definitely think if they don't have exposure, it does take them a longer time to develop. A lot of times we end up hiring content experts who aren't necessarily instructors. And I don't think that's going to go away. And I think that actually lends itself very well to the kind of course content we offer. So I definitely would have to agree with you.
Fantastic. That was for Nicola. Andrew Green asks, is there any room for formative assessment with respects to course content changes?
Room for assessment. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure if I understand the question. So we provide assessments inside of the courses in multiple different forms. and different instructors debate about what things are assessment and which things are assignments and that sort of thing. I'm not exactly sure if I understand the question correctly, Corey.
Okay, I'll see if he posts anything additional. Andrew, if you could elaborate on that. Another one was, what are some of the challenges you face when assisting educators to translate a face-to-face course to blended or online?
That's a great question. We actually face that several times because there's a lot of times our face-to-face course instructors want to just simply take their course and make it an online course. We have a process that they have to go through in order to do that. So our deans have to approve the fact that they in fact want that course to be an online course and to be offered as such. But beyond that, a lot of times what happens is our face-to-face instructors feel like all they have to do is take their content and throw it into a Sakai course site. So in many cases, especially at our first set of get-goes with online course launches, a lot of our instructors were just taking their PDFs, their Word files, and they were just throwing them into the resources area of Sakai. And that's a great way to share content, but it wasn't a really great way to provide information and feedback and engagement with students. So we really had to try and work with them a lot to help them understand the online context. It takes a lot of effort, and a lot of times I think it takes a lot more effort up on the front end, and trying to help them understand that the online context is different. It's not just throwing a bunch of information on a website. So that has really been a struggle to do that.
Great.
That's probably been the biggest thing.
Yeah. So Andrew elaborated, so as he mentioned before, any room for formative assessment in respect to course content changes, support for ongoing changes based on periodic assessments. I don't know if that's if that's enough more detail.
I want to say, I think the question is sort of aimed at trying to look at how courses can be improved over time. I'm not sure if that makes sense. We don't have a formal mechanism in place that actually asks course developers or instructors to give directed feedback about the development process or about course revisions. We do take content that comes in from student evaluations about the course, about how that content can then inform how the course could be revised or otherwise improved. And then we also take feedback that's sort of anecdotal feedback that comes in that's informally gathered. It could be an email from a new instructor that says he doesn't understand how the course was designed or why it was developed this way. And so we do take that feedback in step. We don't have a clear revision process quite yet because we don't have nearly enough courses out there, but we are definitely hitting the end road for understanding there's a process we need to develop to provide assessment feedback about the course revision process and to develop a course revision process.
Okay, and he further elaborated support for ongoing course content changes based on formative assessment, for example, changes in assignments like due dates. But I think
Yes, there have been some times when we take a course and it's not being taught by the same instructor who developed the course. Of course, that's going to happen a lot, and we do take some flexibility with trying to look at assignment due dates and that sort of thing when a new course developer is teaching or a new instructor is teaching a developed course. But we don't have a formalized process for doing that. It's really sort of the course is developed, we hand the course off to a new instructor. They go through and they start teaching the course, and then they often have questions and then reach out to the Department of Online Education to ask those questions, and then we support them in answering those questions.
Great. He also commented they have a similar need for course revision process. Thanks. So another question we got in was, we had a few comments. Someone mentioned that they had a specialized template that's used to create their online courses, which I've actually seen at another institution I worked at as well, that everyone follows the same template format for all of their courses, and that way for students as well, it's familiar across the board. Another
Sure.
comment we had was, experienced educators find difficulty translating their good practices into an online environment. So that was in response to the face-to-face to online. Mm-hmm. What about, so someone asked about mechanisms for reusing previous course runs.
Right, so we definitely had to address that. What we found when we first started developing these courses, we go through and we pay our course developers something to develop the courses, and so we want to renew that, or make a good return on investment. So when we develop our courses, we try to come up with a process that would actually mechanize and make use of the courses end over end. So in Sakai, when we develop the course, when the course is completed and it's been developed and taught, then we go through and we either replicate or import that content into a new course shell. We have a process that works with our student information system that actually goes through and creates course sites automatically throws the students in, including adds and drops, and then we work to throw that course content into those courses so that the content is always the content that's supposed to be there. And so we're able to reuse those courses term over term or semester over semester, year over year. And sometimes there's need for revision. Maybe a course text publisher changes something, and so we have to revise something. But it's an ongoing sort of thing that we have to kind of keep track of.
Alrighty, we have a few more. Do faculty receive additional compensation for a course or a course release for working with you through this process? And in addition to that, how many hours do you estimate faculty invest over these 18 weeks?
That's a really good question. I don't know how many hours they invest. In some cases, we have somebody. We had a meteorologist that actually built out a course for us on meteorology. He has no teaching background, no experience in online, and so there was a lot more investment of time that he had to put in, as opposed to someone else who on our faculty was already teaching and had already taught a course, and so he'd already organized a course in face-to-face. He just had to make that jump from face-to-face to online. So I'm not sure how to address the time frame. We do compensate our course developers. So when they have successfully developed the course and it reaches passes the muster for the Department of Online Education and the program or school offering it, then they are paid. And if that instructor, or excuse me, if that developer goes on to teach the course, they are also paid for teaching the course. It's less than developing the course, but it's paid for teaching the course. So far as the course development is concerned, so far as I think this answers the release question. When we contract with a developer to develop the course, the contractual language explicitly states the course content as it's developed is both the property of the developer and of the university. So we don't hold exclusive right over the developed content, but at the same time, we don't allow the developer to simply take the content away from the university and take away all that investment that we put in terms of developing the course. I'm not sure if that answers the question that was asked about release or not, but
Fantastic. So we had just 2 more questions, but we've run out of time. But one relevant was someone said that they would love to see what templates people are using. Is there any way we can share or continue this conversation after the webinar? That was Nicola.
Great idea.
Yep, so I don't know if, I do see that everyone should be able to see that your email is there. So I don't know if are you open to, obviously you're open to people emailing you.
Yes, I'm completely open. Collaboration's
fantastic. So she also mentioned that they had similar dynamics with MOOCs, who actually owns the content in regards to the releases. So the last and final question was, do you pilot your online courses with a target audience before you actually run it?
No, we don't. We'd love to do that. I don't think we have enough critical mass to do it. I'd love to, but yeah, that would be a great idea.
Fantastic. So that wraps us up. So as you can see, Dave's email is there on the screen. So develand@johnsonu.edu. And that wraps us up for today.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for joining. Alrighty, I'm just going to stop our recording.